My part is to be a member of the steering group of the Balfour Project, which is commemorating the centenary of the Balfour Declaration. And we have been working together on this for the last 6 years, since the founder of our group asked herself the question, how will Britain mark the centenary? And the Balfour Declaration was a declaration by the British government. Arthur Balfour was the foreign minister, and it proposed, in fact it endorsed, a homeland for the Jews in Palestine, and as long as it didn't prejudice the rights of the existing non-Jewish population, the indigenous Arabs. And in fact we honoured the first part of the declaration, the homeland for the Jews, but we didn't honour the second part of the declaration to protect the rights of the indigenous population. There is a discussion now in Britain about how to mark the centenary. Of course, the Jews were greatly discriminated against. They suffered horrendously under the Russians and Poles in the latter part of the 19th century, and it was felt by many that they needed a sanctuary, and perhaps the Holocaust proved that they needed a sanctuary. And then there are others, like the Palestinians, who feel it's the greatest tragedy that occurred to them. And so those pro-Israelis want to celebrate the Balfour Declaration, and those pro-Palestinians want to commemorate, or the catastrophe, as they call it. As the Balfour Project, we are a purely educational project. We have produced a film called Britain in Palestine, which is on our website, which is the Balfour Project, which is balfourproject.org. And the film is called Britain in Palestine, 1917 to 1948, because most British people don't know that we had British soldiers in Palestine for 30 years, from 1918, after the First World War. And an Irish friend once said to me, "We don't want an apology from you, we want honesty about what you did." So we're trying to educate British people. 99% of British people have no idea what the Balfour Declaration is, and yet the whole Arab and a lot of the Muslim world feel that Britain was responsible for that and for much that has gone wrong in the Middle East since. After the First World War, the League of Nations, which was in part dominated by Britain, gave Britain a mandate and a sacred trust to develop all the peoples of Palestine to achieve democracy. And after the Second World War, when particularly the Jewish militias, terrorist groups, if you like, were fighting to expel Britain. Britain finally, I think exhausted after the Second World War, handed it back to the new United Nations at the time. And then there was immediately a war launched by the Arabs, and the partition of Palestine began.